Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for the Blacklist Season 10, Episode 19, Room 417. I'll be honest, I really like this episode, and I feel like it was intense. Like, that's really the biggest thing about it, is that if you can sort of tell the story, bring the momentum, make it feel like there's real stakes, real danger, like, I can be drawn into this. And like I think all of us to a certain extent, from like maybe the first 10 minutes of the story, we've all watched season 10. We all kind of knew where this was probably going, but it's just like it's one of those episodes I just enjoyed. I enjoyed the journey regardless. I had a good time watching everybody sort of sort this out and seeing all these freaking fax machines from 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it felt obvious where it was going because of what's been going on for the second half of the season. We've been watching Reddington dismantling his whole empire and pulling it all apart with the Morgana. I mean, we know that that's what he's doing. So when this all started, and he called everybody in the middle of the night, "Hey, everybody, we all got to meet up." I was like, okay, where are we going with this? This is now something else that belongs to him that he's obviously trying to dismantle. I didn't necessarily expect that it was going to land here, where it's like all of his like information that brings him in, everything about his blacklist, sort of what we saw at the, with everything with Liz and
Yeah.
the secret bunker and all those little typing guys like figuring it all out. I mean, once we saw those fax machines, it was like, well, of course it's Reddington. We've
Yeah.
seen this before.
It it was both so obvious, but I think also so like meticulous and interesting. And it all brings us back to I think the biggest question that nobody really has that clear of an answer to, which is that Reddington is clearly moving on from a lot of this. And he
Mhm.
gives his answer to why he's moving on from all this, but it's is that really satisfying enough? Is it just like, is that enough of a why? Of course, we will dive more into that. But before we go any further here, if you guys love the Blacklist, be sure to check out our Patreon. The link is in the description below. We've got a ton of exclusive videos over there, including, is Megan Boone coming back for the end of the show? Everything
Mhm.
we know about this series finale. We project some end games. Also, at the time of the series finale, which is July 13th,
Mhm.
we're going to come on here, do our review on YouTube at that point, but then probably around 10:45, 11 o'clock Eastern time, so like 7:45, 8 o'clock here on the West Coast, we are going to go live over on Patreon and have a series finale chat with all of you guys. It's going to be really, really fun. So check out that link in the description. Thank you guys so much to everyone who is supporting us there already. And if you are new to the channel, I am Matt Roast. This is Jessica Bun Bun, and we have a lot in store in talking about this episode.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest sort of takeaway for me or moment that really hit me was the conversation at the end of this with Reddington and Cooper, where, Reddington still being Reddington, where he's kind of dancing around his answers in some ways, where he's kind of like, Cooper's just like, I'm not even here to like pull anything out of you anymore. Like, you're not going to be straight with me. Like, what's the point, sort of thing. And Reddington he's honest about it, where he's just like, listen, like, if I could give you a more straight answer on it, I would. But like, sort of the most straight answer I can give you is just this needs to end. Like, I need to move into a new beginning. Like, this is done for me. That even if you're really trying to do everything you can to sort of like protect somebody or do your best by somebody, that sometimes it's not enough, and then you need to move on. And that's where he is. He's in this spot where he had this whole criminal empire to protect Liz, and it didn't work. It didn't work. She ended up dead anyways. So now he's at this point, it's like, well, then what am I doing this for? I'm not really running this because I love it. I'm running it because I'm trying to protect somebody who's no longer here anymore. So why continue on? It's time to move on.
Okay. I think I'm going to go tinfoil hat here. I think there's something more going on here. And
Alright.
and it's really,
We only have 3 episodes left, so
I know.
they really need to play that out.
They're going to find a way to play this out, because to me, the equivalent of watching Reddington for the entire, really ever since the Wu Jing arc ended, to just watch him do all these things to slowly shut stuff down, to spend more time with Agnes, like all that is sweet and emotional, but it's basically the equivalent of an elongated wet fart. And I just feel like the show does not need to end on an elongated wet fart that is just, yeah, exactly. That does not need to be the end of the Blacklist, where it's sweet and it's emotional and it's all of that sort of stuff.
It doesn't need to be 10 episodes or 12 episodes of a retirement party.
No, that's a story you could tell in one episode. I don't need 12 episodes of this. So Reddington has always been the master of double speak, right? He has always not told a complete lie, told a little bit of the truth and sort of masked the lie somewhere in there. And I think there is a lot of truth that he does want to move on. I think there is a lot of truth that everything you said, that it didn't work with Liz, that, okay, you know what? I don't need to be doing this anymore. I think he means all of it, but I think there's another specific purpose that he has in mind. There's something else that he wants to do that, for whatever reason, this enterprise does not allow him to do. Maybe it is I'm always in too much danger with this. I want to go somewhere and be with someone who I can't be with when there is all this danger around me. I just feel in my bones, and I'm not talking about the bones that may or may not be the real Raymond Reddington, but in my bones, I feel like we are getting to something, and it may not be anything that's clear until like the final minute of the series finale or something in that vein. But there has to be another twist. Otherwise, this is just a really big letdown of an ending.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got my tinfoil
all right.
hat on here, but it is really kind of moving into a bit of a letdown, I think. Because the thing is, yeah, we've been watching like 10 episodes of him going into retirement, where he's just getting rid of everything. And, you know, are we just going to see him off somewhere else in the world living his best retirement life? And it's kind of like, well, you're still one of the most sought after criminals in the world. Everybody knows your face. So where is it that you can go to disappear? And now you don't have your empire anymore to protect you from anything. You are no longer able to get the information you used to get, because you just closed that down in this episode. So how are you really able to walk freely anywhere else? There was a moment in this episode. This is not the ending I want. Let me just put this out there. But there was a moment in this episode where he was in the post office with everyone, and he was looking around at the walls, and he was like, this is a really interesting color of gray. And we had Herbie be like, oh, it's, you know, it's called this or whatever, right? And I was like, it's very interesting that he's looking at the walls. The walls are gray, and now he's dismantling his empire. The immunity agreement is gone, and we've had the promos circle around so many times where it's like, oh, it's going to end, you know, where it all began kind of thing, which is him turning himself in and talking about these gray, like, prison walls. I was like, is he referring to prison? Is this what his plan is? He's like, I did all these bad things and I want to pay for my crimes. And that's why he's like, I just don't care if there's an immunity agreement anymore. Take me in. Like, it sort of feels like that's where he's going, and that he is going to do something like that. But maybe the team then is going to be like, nope, you know what? You've really helped us out. We're going to find a way to get you out of this.
And that could ultimately be the case, because he does like to think a million steps ahead, right? Like, maybe he knows if he turns himself in that the task force will get him out of it.
Yeah, they'd be like, no. No, Reddington, what you are doing? Stop this.
It is ultimate Blacklist, like, mind games, right? And I could easily see that being his, you know, literal get out of jail free card at the very end of all of this. But I think where they're going to try to interject some drama into this, and maybe this is what keeps the wet fart from coming out entirely. That sounds really gross.
Goodness, yeah.
But no,
he's going to keep on wet farting through this video.
All right. Hudson, like, this is, I think
he's a wet fart.
This is the ultimate wet fart. Like, you know, we may not like this guy, and I still think he sucks, but beyond all of that, he's clearly the wrench that's being thrown into everything at this point, because this is somebody who Reddington is clearly just, I don't want to say he's forgotten about him, but I think he's just sort of assumed that he hasn't been able to get anywhere. He hasn't really made any progress.
Yeah, he hasn't completely forgotten about it. I mean, one of those faxes that Dembe pulled up had Hudson's name on it. So, I mean, it's not completely gone, I don't think.
I think it's just, this needs to be like I don't know the varying degrees of like, because code red, the worst code of the situation, is like code white, okay. I don't know the degradations of anything here, but it feels like Reddington is not treating this like it is a serious code red situation, when at this point it is.
That's right. And that's why, again, with my tinfoil hat still on, I think he thinks he's going to jail. And I think that his plan is to pay for his crimes, that he's just like, you know, I'm going to end up needing to go to jail, because the only way at this point, especially with Hudson and his recordings, we're going to get into all how convenient that all worked out for him. Man, did he ever turn up lucky with that. Anyways, that this is going to be the only way to kind of save the task force's jobs, especially with a recording like that them then being the people to bring him in, sort of thing, that might be the thing that wipes away any sort of issues that they may be facing with that phone call.
It's gonna be really complicated seeing how they unwind and unwind. I'm sure the next few episodes are gonna be all about trying to see if this can be unwound or undone, and I'm not sure that it can. Like, I still want to root for Reddington getting a happy ending to some degree, even if he is a criminal. It's just because, you know, I'm really,
we love him.
I know I'm attached to him too. But I will say, okay, what I did really like about this episode is just like the way in which they built like the room 417 set, with like all of the different computer screens, the way it worked, the way it set out, even the fax machine. I was just sitting there being like, for like the $0 you guys have had for a budget this season, like that was pretty cool to me. Like, that was pretty high stakes. Okay, we've dealt with a lot of like really petty crimes this season, compared to, here is a monitor of every single government official that matters. And like, yes, there is a part of all of this that feels like incredibly implausible, that Reddington somehow has a secret room in a high-level government building and has video feeds to all of these high-level officials. But it's also the number one rule of Reddington is, don't talk about how Reddington actually does any of this stuff, because you will not get anywhere. You're just supposed to believe it.
Listen, they sort of gave this blanket thing of where Reddington said that the way that he's always been able to carry on business and be one of the biggest criminal masterminds in the world is because he has hands in all kinds of government pockets. So clearly he's got his hand in here, where he was able to get this room and monitor everybody. I think sort of that general sweeping statement that he said, it covers everything, that it makes it then be like, oh yeah, I remember that he said that. That must be this.
They really...
Listen, I find that way more believable than Hudson getting to be able to like tap this phone that Wrestler has and get in at just the right moment that is saying all the things he needs to hear. Like, what are the chances of that? Like 100% because it happened, yeah. But what are really the chances of that? It's not good. Like, it was so convenient.
Okay.
It felt rushed. Like, I feel like I would have at least liked to have seen him tapping into a couple conversations where, you know, it's nothing really much of anything, you know, Wrestler's using his work phone to be like, hey, Domino's, I'd like, you know, a pepperoni pizza. I would have liked to have seen a couple of those calls before it's like, oh, I just turned on the tap and what are they talking about? Everything I need to know exactly word for word.
First, Wrestler, if you want to get me the pepperoni pizza, like, I'd really appreciate that. Just like, call them up. Second, yes, this is incredibly stupid and incredibly convenient and incredibly unbelievable. Like,
it was too unbelievable.
There's no arguing any of that. However,
I just wish they would have taken a couple of episodes more of this season and just lent it to this. Like, if we were going to get to this point, this is starting to just feel very rushed, where everything has to work out exactly right for Hudson in just a few episodes.
I think it just comes down to me. It's just like you know, when you're told when you're a kid, you can't watch TV all the time, your brain will turn to mush. My brain has already been turned to mush by like all the ridiculous television that I've watched over the years. It might have been like the 80 episodes of Press Your Luck I watched when I was like 5.
What a
And
good
maybe
show.
that, like, I think the whammies just came and like hammered my brain, where it's just like, I watched this, I'm like, is this incredibly dumb? Yes. Do I care? Not as much as I probably should. I was just like, you know what? Hudson was just going to get there anyway. So we just sort of yada yada through all of the other stuff that doesn't matter. We're getting right to the point.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. They yada yada all through it. And I'm just like, this show really like holds my heart. I've been here for, watching this for 10 seasons.
Yeah.
This is the final season. They started the first half of this season with some really high stakes with Wu Jing and all these other blacklisters all coming back being, pissed off and looking for revenge. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is getting really high stakes here. And then that ended and it's just like Hudson just showed up like 5 episodes ago, and all of a sudden he's got all the information. And it's just like, this is the final season. There's 3 episodes left. I don't want the show to go out like this. This is a really intelligent show that has taken us on a very smart journey for so long. We're all an intelligent audience. Why are you just going to yada yada through it with Hudson? And, the guy that Wrestler is like sponsoring, who's just like, okay, I'll just keep on going on, Jonathan.
You know what I really blame from my mindset at this point?
Jonathan. No.
The Idol. I bashed The Idol every video this week, and it has set the bar so low in my brain that I will accept anything.
Okay, listen.
Gives me at this point.
The Blacklist is not bad.
No, The Idol is bad.
Listen, it's not trash, and I know that there's been people that have been like, "Oh, this final season is trash."
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. I just think that they had like this big lull after Wu Jing ended.
Yeah.
And then they had all these episodes that they could have been cultivating this Hudson story for all that time, but there wasn't. It was just like Pinky's making a cooking video and then he's, getting a brochure and going on a road trip. It's just like, okay, that stuff could have been happening, but Hudson also could have been happening so that we didn't just like rush through this.
I think a lot of this stuff kind of it's a weird psychological thing. Like, you guys can let us know in the comments, like, through all the fun that this episode was, and I think it was a lot of fun, like, what thing stood out to you as like the most egregious? Because for you, it's pretty clear. For me,
oh yeah, he got so lucky with that wiretap. Oh my goodness.
I was willing to mentally accept that for some reason. However, what I had a little bit more of a problem with for some reason is like, DEMBE, how did you not know about this? And then DEMBE just gives like this boilerplate answer. And it's just like,
I didn't know everything. I guess I didn't know him that well. I know him, but not his business. You liar. No way.
If I'm DEMBE and Reddington really just didn't tell me all this stuff, I would like go over and I don't really know what I would do. Would I just like
kick over his trash can? Like, are you kidding me?
Toilet paper his house.
I was your spiritual advisor. How could you not tell me? I did everything for you. I killed people for you. You can't tell me about your fax machines.
DEMBE is very peaceful. I would be so much more mad if like all this came out and it's like, I am your number one I'm about to go full Succession. I'm your number one. I am the eldest son of this empire. And you did not tell me everything that was going on. Like, what the bleep? And so I don't know, that was just annoyed me.
No, I agree. I found that completely unbelievable. I had actually thought that DEMBE knew about the Morgana agency and everything that was going on there. And that's why Reddington was like, hey, does DEMBE want to come and spend the day with me? He can protect me today, because he knew about it. And if DEMBE wasn't there, then DEMBE couldn't tell them, oh, by the way, guys, this belongs to Reddington. In this episode, he's supposed to go, I didn't know about that either. It's just like, I just don't believe it. There was too many things in this episode. I know I sound like I'm complaining, and it's because I am, so put your hard hats on. It's just, there was too many things that were just too conveniently placed. Like, even Wrestler giving Jonathan his phone, like, I understand that they have a trust and they're in this sponsorship thing together, but that's your government issued phone, and you're just like, yeah, here, let me just swipe it. Here you go. Oh, can I go outside alone? Sure, no problem. It's just everything worked out too conveniently, and it felt, because it all worked out so conveniently, that it was kind of just rushed.
I will say this about Wrestler. The only reason I believe this is Wrestler has a long and lengthy history of bad decision making. And so I was like, okay, you know what, Wrestler? Is it believable that you would do this? Maybe.
I found it more unbelievable that Jonathan did this, that he actually went through with it, especially when he went back to like Hudson's office and they were talking, and Hudson was just like, it was true. You figured out that there is a connection with Liz and Wrestler. And he's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm like, yes, correct. It doesn't mean anything. It's not proof of anything. It's not enough for you to then be like, let me tap this guy's phone for you. Because even when he sat down with the coffees, he's like, we're not friends.
Jonathan's gonna die. Then let's just get dark at the very end of this video. He's gonna die.
I don't want to see him die,
He's
but like,
going
I want
to.
to see him do the right thing by Wrestler who helped save his life.
I hope you're right. I don't want to sound like I'm being too morbid. It's just like, this is a very dark show. And
it is absolutely a very dark show. I was actually very worried when we saw him using again at the end that was it then.
Yeah, like I was worried about that too. I'm worried that like next episode's gonna start and he's just gonna be gone, because I don't know if he's going to admit to any of this to Wrestler, because if he does, he has to admit why he's, fallen off, and it's directly because of this. It's not any other reason, and then that's going to spiral. I mean, he obviously feels really guilty, and it's just like, that is the just twisted emotional core. Okay, before we go, the absolute best moment of this entire episode. Paula, you're back.
I know, right?
For 5 seconds.
No, that was such a cute reveal. I was so happy to see her back, to be like, you want a sweepstakes? I'm like, it's Paula. Oh my goodness. I thought they had completely forgotten about her, that we were not going to have any Paula at all. It was so nice to see her back.
It was a they had to have done that in the same exact episode
lovely.
that Herbie made a DMV joke. That was
I
like,
know.
the DMV was just like, okay, you guys, sure, you may be dropping the ball and having the most unbelievable circumstances ever, but you care about your characters.
They do care about their characters. And I think that, like seeing Paula having the DMV brought up, I mean, there is some good fan service that is going on. We had a flashback where Liz was in it, where we're seeing that bunker. There is some good fan service going on here. Overall, it wasn't like, this wasn't the robot episode. Like, let's not pretend like this was just trash. It wasn't. It was just
robot slander.
Things were too convenient. Everything was just working out like A-okay, 100%, 10 out of 10 for everybody. You turn on the tap, it's exactly what you needed to hear. It's just, there was time to really flesh this out for all of us. This is a smart show.
I think I'm a little bit higher on it than you, but I think that's mostly just because I'm just glad that things were happening.
I expect more from this show.
Yeah,
they've set the bar too high for them to be like doing this now at the finish line, where they're like, I just ran this race. Let's eat this pasta and throw up at the end. They're Michael Scott.
I was about to say, okay, Michael Scott. This is, okay, it's not Kate May. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, this is the greatest episode of The Blacklist of all time.
And it's not the robot episode.
No, the robot episode is also so bad it's good. Like, I had that take when we first did it. I'm standing by that take. It is the Maisie Day of The Blacklist episode.
Oh, that was also trash.
See, it's a listen, somebody's got to say the thing sometimes that no one else will. But okay. That concludes Room 417, now that we have wandered into some very weird rooms in this video. But thank you guys so much for watching, for your support. We do have that live stream coming with the finale at our Patreon. Check out that link, and supporting us over there, it really does help us a lot. It keeps the lights on. It helps to support our channel and everything we do. So thank you guys for your support on that, and we will see you here next time.